If you are a CityCast superfan, you've definitely heard us singing the praises of our longtime supporter, Paulson & Nace. So there's big news. Paulson & Nace is now Nace Law Group. Same great team, just with a new name. When you are hurt by the negligence of others, you want a lawyer that will actually fight for you, not one that will settle for the bare minimum. Nace's compassionate lawyers fight to bring cases to juries, so you can get everything you deserve. If you have been hurt or lost a loved one because of someone else's mistake or negligence, call Nace Law Group for a no-obligation consultation. Visit www.washingtondcinjurylawyers.com or call 202-463-1999. Going to the auto shop is a pain, whether it's fear of being scammed or overcharged or just the general inconvenience of finding a good mechanic and dropping off your car. Car care is a hassle. That's where Rhoda comes in. Rhoda is a local DMV auto shop that makes car care so easy that you don't even need to get off the couch. Just book a service online in under 3 minutes and they'll pick up your car for free, service it at their shop, and return it usually in the same day. They'll even send you text updates along the way. Trust me, they let me try, and the service was completely stress-free. Whether it's seasonal maintenance, repairs, or a car detail, Rhoda's expert technicians offer honest pricing and free inspections on any make or model. Go to Rhoda.com, that's RODA.com, to book your appointment in under 3 minutes. Use code POD50 for your $50 off your first service of $200 or more.
Today on CityCast DC. If you've ever driven on Rock Creek Parkway, then you already know it has those reversible lanes. It's actually had that traffic pattern since the 1930s. But now, the National Park Service wants to change up the roads, and people both for and against that change are yelling pretty loudly about it. Rachel Weiner of The Washington Post has been following the controversy. Today's Wednesday, April 23rd. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. All right, Rachel is here to talk with me about some controversial changes coming to Rock Creek Parkway. But before I get into all of that, I want to take a second to talk about our membership program. If you are here, I already know you love DC as much as I do and want to feel more connected to it. That is why now is the absolute best time to become a CityCast DC neighbor. And because you're joining during our spring campaign, you're going to get a special invite to one of DC's most exclusive tours, led by CityCast CEO and my boss and neighbor/friend, David Plotz. And he's here for a quick minute to tell us all about it. David, I have lived in DC for most of my life. I have gone to Rock Creek Park many times, and yet I have never heard about this fort. Tell me about it.
So I lead a tour of a fort in the middle of Rock Creek Park, hidden deep in Rock Creek Park, called Fort de Russie. And this fort is a Civil War fort, and it plays a part in one of the strangest and most astonishing and most kind of miraculous moments in DC history, and little-known moments, when there was a Confederate invasion of Washington, D.C. in 1864, and there was an astonishing series of events that saved the nation and also Abraham Lincoln's life. And so I stumbled upon this fort about a decade ago and have learned a ton about its history, and I lead a tour of it. And not to be immodest, but I'm going to be immodest. It's the highest rated tour in Airbnb in Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it just for CityCast DC neighbors, just for our members on May 17th. So I'm inviting all of our members and a guest to come join me and take this tour and see a really special place in DC history that almost nobody knows about, and meet up with other folks and be part of this community.
If you will allow me, I will also brag on you for a little bit, because I was looking at the reviews before we started talking, and one of the things they really highlight is, one, your clear passion for this fort, and then two, the storytelling that really comes along with this tour. So it's not like you're just walking people to this fort and saying, there it is. The reviews are in, and they are saying that you really know what you're doing when it comes to crafting the story of this place in Rock Creek Park and why it's so special.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love this place. I love the story. I mean, I'm a native Washingtonian, and so this is speaks deeply to me. And so when I started taking folks to this fort, it's been a joy for me, and I really look forward to sharing it with all of our CityCast neighbors. And also, this is kid friendly. So if you want to bring a child with this, it is a great way to give your kid some exposure to DC history and to Civil War history. So if you're a CityCast DC neighbor, you can join us on May 17th. We will send you an invitation. And, if you cannot make it on May 17th, I will find another day to take you, dear neighbor, to the fort. And if you get this invitation, you can come and a guest, but you have to be a CityCast DC neighbor by going to membership.citycast.fm.
Once again, that is membership.citycast.fm. Well, thank you, David. I am looking forward to this tour. Now on to today's show. Rachel, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So for folks who are unfamiliar, how exactly does Rock Creek Parkway work?
Yeah, so this is unusual, I think, in the country, although it's not the only example in DC. Basically, the roads change direction every day, twice a day during rush hour. So during the morning rush, you can only go south from northern DC towards Virginia. And then in the evening rush, you can only go north from Virginia or from the area around the Lincoln Memorial up towards Maryland.
Where is it exactly?
It goes through Rock Creek Park, which is on the western side of the city, bisecting what people commonly think of roughly as sort of the western and eastern sides. The wealthiest areas of DC generally are on the west side of the river. That's, Cleveland Park, Georgetown, and then the less wealthy parts of the city are on the other side.
Who tends to be the people using Rock Creek Parkway most often?
Generally, it's people who live in upper northwest DC or Maryland, Chevy Chase, Bethesda, and they're commuting either to downtown DC or to Virginia.
You mentioned that we have these reversals of the lanes multiple times a day. How did we get to the point where that's what's going on with this road, and how does that work exactly?
It's been going on actually for almost 100 years, which is pretty crazy. Basically, Rock Creek was built, when not a lot of people owned cars, and it was supposed to be a scenic drive, kind of like Skyline Drive, or the Blue Ridge Parkway, that takes you through Shenandoah. But pretty quickly, as more and more people got cars, it became a commuting route. And so they started trying to facilitate the amount of cars that wanted to go south in the morning and north in the evening by, instead of having always 2 lanes in both directions, having 4 lanes in one direction morning, 4 lanes in the other direction evening. And the park police just come out and put up cones and barriers telling people, you can't get on the road at this time.
So it sounds like a pretty janky system of alerting people to this reversal. Literally a human just coming out and putting out some cones.
Yes, correct. It's extremely low tech. And part of the argument for ending it that the Park Service made this past week is that it's dangerous for the people who do it. There hasn't been any devastating accident, but that's lucky, and that it would be very easy for someone who isn't paying attention or doesn't understand what's going on to hit a park police officer who's out there changing the signs. And someone at this meeting where the Park Service announced that they were looking at ending this practice, someone said, well, why don't you just automate it, the way express lanes are automated now? But it is a national park. It's a historic site, and there are limitations on the amount of infrastructure and technology you could put on the parkway, and it would be both very expensive and noticeable impact on the appearance of the road if they were going to try to add sort of automated barriers.
Well, let me just ask, so what exactly is NPS proposing in terms of changing this system?
Yeah, so they're proposing just doing away with it and making the parkway like most other roads. There's 2 lanes in each direction. You go whichever direction you want to go. You can always go in either direction.
Is the main thing they're trying to fix with this change, the sort of danger factor for the humans who are out on the road, that they're saying, like, there hasn't been any catastrophic incident yet, but it could only be a matter of time? Is that the main thing they're trying to change or fix?
It's one of them. I wouldn't say it's the main thing, but it's definitely part of it. There's also an expense factor that they have to pay people to go out there and change it multiple times a day. So there's that, but also they want to be able to control speeds on the parkway better. They said that they see the most speeding in the evening, and generally there's been a movement nationwide and in DC towards what's called road diets, where roads are narrowed, where there's a lot of speeding, under the theory that if you didn't have these wide open lanes, you wouldn't be able to speed, right? So I think they're saying, yes, it might be convenient for people going north in the evening, and you can see the convenience in how fast they're going, but they're not actually supposed to be going that fast. There are more crashes during the reversible lane hours than is proportionate to the amount of traffic. And so that basically it will also be safer for cars if they do away with this.
So big construction projects around infrastructure really tend to take up a lot of time and money. Like, they can kind of take a lot longer than people maybe think. Are these plans even feasible given all that?
I mean, this one, I think, is an exception in that it's fairly easy to just stop doing something, although there are modifications that they would like to make that would definitely take years. And they're saying even construction wouldn't take place till 2028 because there's an environmental review process, there's a historic preservation process, all of the things that come into play with a road that is also part of a national park and is also a historic area, is actually one of the first national parks. So it is complicated, despite the main goal being simply to stop putting out some sawhorses every day. And yeah, it'll take years.
Porch Fest is back! On Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, come out to Adams Morgan for a free, family-friendly music festival. Experience live performances on porches, patios, and public spaces all throughout the neighborhood. DC is home to so many talented musicians spanning every style and genre. This year's festival is headlined by Gangsta Grass, an Emmy-nominated bluegrass hip-hop fusion band. So get some butts together and come on down to Boogie and enjoy the community this spring. Grab your wristband at the festival headquarters to score discounts and offers at bars, restaurants, and retailers throughout the neighborhood. Join us on May 3rd. For more info and the full lineup, visit admodc.org/porchfest and be sure to follow @admobid on Instagram for updates.
After the Fact, a podcast by Pew, keeps it real with data-driven insights on today's big issues. No spin, just facts, mixed with stories from experts, policymakers, and people making a difference. Whether you're into the research or the personal stories behind it, we've got you covered. So what are you waiting for? Listen to After the Fact wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, so every Mother's Day, we treat my mom to a special day out. She gets her nails done. We take her to tea. We go out for dinner or we make her dinner. That sort of thing. Now, I can do all of that because I happen to live close by her. But a lot of my friends don't live near their parents at all. And all their mom wants is a phone call. But what if you could get her something more than just the phone call? That's where Aura Frames comes in. Do you have a funny photo of you and your friends or you and your family that she would love as a keepsake in addition to that phone call? You can send her a new picture of you and the gang right from your phone. I mean, even my tech-averse mom would be a huge fan of that. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver mat frame. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Is it possible that this could actually make traffic worse in the short term, like if folks have to use alternate routes?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the opposition we've heard from people is along those lines, saying basically like the construction in order to implement this will make their commutes a nightmare. And it's true, that is painful. I think they try to do these things in phases, but anyone who lives in or around or travels through Silver Spring, where they're building the Purple Line, knows, how long that can go on and how difficult it can be. That said, the main things they want to do, they want to add a couple lanes towards the south near Virginia Avenue so that there isn't a bottleneck when people come off the parkway, which, is already a problem. And in some cases, actually worse because you're going from 4 lanes into 2 lanes and that causes a huge backup. And they want to add a roundabout towards the northern end on Shoreham Drive, which would hopefully basically make it easier for people to get in and out, because if you've driven on Rock Creek Parkway, you know that there are these sort of games of chicken where people try to cut in and you can't tell if people are gonna let you do that or not. So those are ways they're saying that they could actually mitigate the traffic, and also they want to put in some barriers to keep traffic on the parkway, basically, rather than diverting onto side streets, which obviously people who live in the neighborhoods around the parkway are worried about.
So who would be most affected by the traffic?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, commuters from Montgomery County, definitely, who take the parkway if they work downtown or work in Virginia. Residents in the Cleveland Park, Woodley Park area who are worried about diverting traffic going into their neighborhood roads or onto Connecticut Avenue, which is, another main thoroughfare, and actually one that had reversible lanes up until 2021 and no longer does.
So I know there are folks who are clamoring for this and folks who are vocally against it. Who are the folks who are for this and who are the folks who are against it? Give me the lay of the land.
People who commute on the parkway, I wouldn't say uniformly, but are sort of the main voices in opposition to this because they see it as eliminating a benefit that they have basically of having a 4-lane road rather than a 2-lane road to drive to work. And I would say that supporters are people who would like the parkway to be less of a thoroughfare and more of, what it would drive, a normal road where cars don't go very fast and are interacting, more safely with pedestrians and bicyclists and more integrated into the park.
Yeah, I mean, pedestrian safety is a huge issue for DC, so that's a valid concern. Are there people who are against this for historic preservation reasons?
Yes, although, I'm sure there's a big debate going on nationally now about the extent to which historic and environmental concerns are used and it's an excuse to not build infrastructure that people don't want. But yeah, like I said, it is a historic road. It's a beautiful road, and there are people who say they don't want to see, plant life torn up or any historic structures affected by these changes.
How would these proposed changes affect the Kennedy Center?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think it really depends who you talk to. If things go according to the plans of the Park Service, I think, their hope is that traffic will flow sort of more normally in that area, which I think would be helpful. Of course, if you talk to the opponents, they would say, no, that's not what's going to happen. Everything is going to be more chaotic around that area. For people who are visiting, I think that's another concern that the Park Service has. Basically, if you're not used to driving in DC, it's confusing, and there have been incidents where people almost start going against traffic down there because they don't know what's going on. So I think it would be better for that scenario. And they're also making it easier for pedestrians in that area and creating the goal is to create a better connection from the bottom of Rock Creek Park over to some of the parks and monuments on the south side of the city. That could possibly be helpful for the Kennedy Center too.
Are there other solutions that maybe could work?
There are some, arguing why not cameras instead? Why not closing and opening automatic gates instead? But the fact that it's a national park, I think, really limits those options. That said, if you look at the very detailed presentations from the Park Service, they have all sorts of different proposed concepts: 1 roundabout, 2 roundabouts, 3 lanes going down towards Virginia Avenue, 4 lanes going down towards Virginia Avenue. So they're going to do some modeling, basically, where they take the information they know about the traffic and they run simulations and try to figure out which of these scenarios will keep traffic from being worse than it is now.
What are the next steps in this whole process?
So there's a 1-month public comment period. Then after that, they will have to go through the environmental review process, the historic process with whatever plan they come up with. That's why they probably won't present a plan until sometime next year, and they probably won't get it approved for construction for another couple years after that, or at least a year.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on this story. In the meantime, thank you so much for laying it all out for us, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
Before we go, I want to give a special shout out to our newest CityCast DC neighbors, Taylor C. and Caitlin W. We are so thankful that you're here. And if you'd like to join the folks building a better DC and get a neighbors-only coffee mug, go to membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, send it to a friend who's always complaining about the DC traffic. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you then.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Harrison. I live in Northern Virginia, but I'm in DC all the time. And honestly, I absolutely love this city. There's so much to do here. World-class museums, festivals almost every weekend, sports, art, food, you name it. The energy of the city is contagious, and it's part of what made me fall in love with DC after moving to the area. As a transplant, it can be hard to feel plugged into a place right away. But CityCast DC has made that so much easier. With all the national news coming out of DC, it's refreshing to have something truly local. Listening to CityCast DC feels like catching up with friends about what really matters in the city. That's why I became a member. If you love something, you support it. I know my contribution helps keep CityCast DC going, and that feels like a small but meaningful way I can give back to a city that's given me so much. If you're not a member yet, now's a great time to join. Your support makes a real difference and keeps this amazing local resource going. Plus, you get great perks. I read the weekly events preview every Monday to plan exactly what I'll be getting up to during the week. Join me and become a CityCast DC neighbor by visiting membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm.